where my family's apartment was. "Careful!" he yelled in my direction as I gripped the metal railing and peered over the edge at the tiny cars and people below. He stood on the gravel, his eyes squinting behind his large-framed glasses, his long legs making him seem as tall as the surrounding buildings. "Come over here and let me take a photo of you." Other times we stood together, looking west toward the Hudson River, catching a glimpse of New Jersey, the city buzzing, honking below us, the wind whipping my hair and dancing around our two bodies. I like to think that in these moments we were both happy, pretending to fly over the city like a superhero and the girl he rescued. 1. It all began in New York, 1913 and 1981. Daddy Joe once told me that he came close to never being born. "My mother tried to get rid of me," he said with a laugh. My great-grandmother Rose found out that she was pregnant only 9 months after having my great-aunt Beatrice. Working as a button maker, while my great-grandfather Harry worked as a tailor, Rose didn't believe she could afford another child. She begged her cousin Izzy, a pharmacist, to help with her predicament. He placed a pill in her palm and sent her on her way. Rose swallowed the aspirin, relieved to have her problem solved. Daddy Joe was born on October 11th, 1913. He grew up in Rochester, New York. His father, Harry, came from Leeds, England, on the other side of the Atlantic. He had a lot of family in Rochester, one of them a cousin named Jaime. Jaime was tall and handsome, a ladies' man. Harry wrote Jaime Simon on Daddy Joe's birth certificate without Rose knowing. She couldn't read English, only her native Russian and Yiddish. But when she found out, she was furious. She wanted Daddy Joe to be named Joseph, after her brother. Even though she got her way, his birth certificate was never changed. He was always legally, secretly, Jaime. They called their apartment a flat. It was railroad style, moving from front to back. The front of the apartment served as Harry's tailor shop, with windows only in a few rooms. On Sundays, after Rose and Harry were done with the newspaper, they handed over the comic strips to Daddy Joe and his sister, Beatrice. The two of them laid out the pages on the floor of the apartment's front room where, because it was used as Harry's shop, they enjoyed the modern luxury of electric lights. Rochester was a city of manufacturers, including Eastman Kodak, the photography company, and Bausch and Lomb, the optical conglomerate. In an effort to contribute income to the family, a 14-year-old Daddy Joe sold newspapers on street corners, in front of the Kodak building, and in the Bausch and Lomb lobby for 2 cents each. Years later, he used his experience as a paperboy to create the Newsboy Legion for DC Comics, about a group of orphans living on the streets of Suicide Slum in New York City. As a child, Daddy Joe knew only Rochester, but saw many other places in the movies, including Broadway and the Big Apple. He dreamed of moving to New York City from a young age, but after high school he stayed in Rochester, illustrating for the local newspaper and saving his money. In 1937, at 23 years old and with a fine suit, thanks to his father, he set out toward his future in the big city. I like to imagine Daddy Joe walking the city streets, all legs and ambition, excited for what lay ahead. He later moved to Long Island to raise a family, but after my grandmother died at the age of 48, he returned to the city, finding comfort in its energy. He hated to leave it. While Daddy Joe thought the aspirin story was funny, I was uncomfortable with the idea of a world without him. It wasn't only the possibility of my mom never being born, or even myself, but also Captain America, my family's coat of arms. I imagined a giant eraser wiping Captain America from my existence, starting with his head, down to his shield, to the toe of his red boot.